Hey, Difference Makers, what's up? Dr. Hovind here, your host of the Difference Makers podcast, and I've got an announcement. I'm actually going to head out. I'm going to be gone, but I'm bringing in, for the next episode, two of my favorite people in the world. We have Corella and Bradford Keaty. They're going to talk about the top culture killers in any organization. This is something that I am super excited that they get to share with you, because it's something that we put at high priority in our business here, and it has made all the difference by being aware of this. So you make sure you turn in, and by the time you're done, you're going to want to give us a 5-star review, I promise you. So I'll look forward to seeing you when I get back. But until next time, keep making a difference.
Hey, thank you for the introduction, Dr. Hovind. So we have with me Bradford Keaty, and I'm Corella. So I'm the Director of Business Culture for the firm, and Bradford is one of our leads for our remote team, I guess you could say. And so thanks for jumping on here with me. This is exciting stuff.
Yeah, happy to be here, Ian.
Yeah. And so we're going to talk about some of the culture killers in a business. There's a number of different ones, but we have 4 right now that we want to go through. And I think that this could really help a lot of people, a lot of leads, a lot of team members, and different people can see signs for what are culture killers, and also how do we prevent this from happening in our business. Because as a lot of people know, business culture is very important, and it's a huge part that makes people want to continue to work for a business, work hard for a business, and stay involved and connected. And so, but yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and culture is made up of people, right? And a business culture is made up of the people that are part of your business. And the best way to understand the way to develop and grow a business and to grow that business culture is to understand who those people are, right? And so the overarching concept before we get started on anything is that you got to know the people in your business and understand who you work with.
That's very true. Very true. Let's jump right in. Let's go into it. So the first one that we have on the list here is of a culture killers. I mean, it's going to be hard for me to not say the culture positives, but culture killers right now is number 1, lack of communication. So communication's key in so many different relationships and everything that you guys are doing. If there's a lack of communication, if there's a time that people are not expressing themselves right, or sharing information on the positioning or jobs, I'm trying to think in the business mindset right now, those are things that can go downhill a lot.
Well, I've often heard it said that conflict is the result of miscommunicated expectations. And I think that this is an important number 1 when we talk about culture killers, because creating an environment for communication and encouraging that environment for communication is a great way to keep your culture positive. However, as soon as you see that start to deteriorate, that lack of communication starts to seep in, assumptions are made, conflict starts to show up, and all of a sudden you wonder why things are falling apart or why people don't want to be here.
It's true. There's miscommunications, and so then it comes into rumors, lack of alignment, lack of attachment to the vision and the mission of the business, and those are things that start making a culture go downhill real quick.
And it's easy to see, when you recognize that folks don't want to have that level of communication with each other, you'll start noticing the culture start to deteriorate almost immediately afterwards.
Yeah, very, very true. And so communication, I think, is huge in so many different aspects. There's a lot of issues that if you just communicate effectively and openly, that's one of our core values here at the firm, then, a lot of issues are going to be solved right there and then. But, I mean, it takes time and development of great communication too. And so let's go on to the second one. So the second one is micromanagement. That is a culture killer. And why is micromanagement a culture killer? What do you think?
Well, I think that there's a difference between micromanagement and accountability, right? And I think that accountability is an extremely important piece of maintaining an appropriate business culture. But when you take it a little too far, a couple steps too far even, and you start getting into the details of telling an artist how to paint, you start to create this negative space where it doesn't feel like that individual has the lateral movement to express themselves in their work.
Definitely.
Right.
I think micromanagement also takes away from trust. It takes away, especially when leaders are micromanaging their teams. Are they really trusting their team to get the job done and enabling, empowering them to really succeed and move forward? Because it stumps growth. Growth is a huge part of company culture too. And so if you're micromanaging, are you really empowering your team to grow? And so that's a huge thing that people don't realize when, oh yeah, I'm micromanaging because I'm being on top of this stuff. But there's a good way of doing it and there's a bad way of doing it.
Well, and a lot of times burgeoning leaders are people that are new in the space of responsibility, or maybe it's their first time dealing with this many people, right? You know, oh, maybe I've managed a team of 4 or 5 before, but now I'm managing a team of 20 or 25. You get a sense of, oh, I need to make sure I know that everyone's doing everything when they're supposed to be doing it. And although the general concept is true, and you should have an understanding of how your team is operating, getting into the details of watching each individual's minute by minute move or trying to put the pieces together for them is not going to create a cohesive work unit and is not going to help your team function cohesively. Taking a step back and recognizing that there is an exchange of trust that needs to occur. If that gets missed, then you get this culture killer where everyone feels like, man, I can't, like, this guy's just not giving me a break. I can't go 10 minutes without this guy asking me to do something different or asking me to, make an adjustment here, make an adjustment there. Like, come on, man, I know how to do my job. Let me do my job.
Or even asking questions about, like, hey, why are you doing this? Every 5 minutes. And, well, it's my job. This is the process. And then it just takes away from time too and the effectiveness of the job that the person's trying to get done.
Absolutely.
And so, cool. You're in charge of a lot of remote staff members.
That's
and people
true.
that are in different offices and those type of things. How do you stay engaged with those people without micromanaging?
It's difficult, but I think that in my opinion, the most effective way for me to help is the number of remote individuals that we have in our business is close to 50. It's around 50, right? And, I get to come in the office and see you all the time. And it's really easy for you and I to have conversations about little things, right? Like, hey, car looks great. Did you get a car wash this morning? That kind of stuff, right? You don't get to there's not really an opportunity to do that with your remote workers, because even though they're showing up at the quote unquote office at the same time you don't have that sense of like, oh, I noticed this thing as I was walking in, so I can have a kind of small talky, but still sincere conversation with you. What I found is the most effective way to kind of find an opportunity for remote workers is to have a space outside of the workplace that we can engage in that isn't required but encouraged, that's still positive for everyone that's a part of it, right? Even if it's like, so the little chat group we've got is called the meme base, right? So someone sees something funny and they throw it in the group chat and everybody gets a chuckle out of it, right? And it's like, it's partitioned away from the work communication applications, so it doesn't feel like it's, there's somebody watching or anything like that, but it's just a nice way for us to exchange and have, toss a joke back and forth. And that allows to, when you get into a space in work, to kind of have a comfortable and casual conversation. Mm-hmm. And through those conversations, you build this sense of trust and understanding of the individuals as you learn how they talk or how they communicate.
That's so good. And so part of that development, especially as we've grown and everything, I know we've changed a lot too, having more remote staff members. Mm-hmm. And that's where your position kind of came in. Hey, we need someone to help out with the development of these teams and the connection of them to the business and the mission and everything. And so that's one of the next culture killers I want to talk about is resistance to change. So we've been able to change, we've been able to grow, but resistance to change. And what does that do? What do you think that does to a company if you resist to change? If it's the leadership or the staff or those type of people?
Well, resistance to change, the end result of the resistance to change is ultimately the stagnation of a business, right? You can't expect to keep things the same just in perpetuity, right? However, change is one of the most difficult things for humans to process, period, right? We get comfortable, we get in a groove, we get into a pattern, and it's difficult for us to abruptly or otherwise make changes to those sorts of mental or physical, etc. habits that we get into. Yeah. Being resistant to change is almost natural, but in a business sense, there's a level of understanding that's assumed. It's like, hey, we're growing, we're learning, we're becoming the best version of ourselves. Change is inevitable. Yeah. And when you see that resistance, it doesn't help your business culture grow. And you have to find a way to work around it.
Right. Change definitely, I believe, helps with keeping a business relevant and competitive too. Because if you're just consistently doing the same thing in your business all the time, then someone else is going to find this new innovation or new way of doing what you're doing, but better. And who's going to get more of the business? It's going to end up being that company that's willing to change and willing to grow.
Well, and it's a tired example, but think about, the first automobile in the United States, right? Oh, we'll never need that. Nobody ever needs to travel that fast for anything.
Have horses.
We have horses. What are you, nuts? Exactly. But now look, right? And so that's just, it's a proto example of that, right? And it has been used over and over again, but it's the same concept, is that you have to be ready for what feels like an impossible change at all times in a business, and not having that attitude shift or that perspective as individuals as part of the business culture will lead to this number 3 culture killer, which is that sense of resistance.
Right. And it impedes progress, it impedes innovation, it stops growth, and growth is one of the biggest things in a team that you need. And so another one of our core values here at the firm is to pursue excellence. And the aspect of that I really like to focus on when I'm meeting with our new staff members or telling them kind of about our core values and a little bit more about our business is that I want you as a staff member to continue to grow and continue to learn. And we as a leadership team want you to grow, because as you grow, then, you become more efficient and better and more confident. And then your team then grows, and the team grows, the business grows is beneficial for everybody. But, if you're impeding growth, and if we're an organization that was to say, oh, this person's doing better than me, I'm going to not help him anymore, then that's culture going downhill really fastly. And that kind of goes into the fourth one of culture killer of selfishness, and how selfishness can really be a cancer to business in a lot of different ways. When people are looking out for only themselves, and when people only care about their progress and their success and those type of things. One, in a business like ours, as a service-based business, you're not really truly caring for your clients, and you're not helping people, because money is a focus for a lot of businesses, and it's important because you need to be able to pay for the overhead, make some money, live a happy life, be able to travel, trip, whatever your purpose is for the money aspect. But when it comes to the real deeper meaning, I believe it's usually involves much more than that, helping people. And we have a model here of helping other people and wanting to continue to help our clients get back on their feet and become healthier and better and back to some sort of way of normal living. And so jump in there. What do you want to say about selfishness?
Yeah, well, this is obviously the concept of selfishness is much broader than what we have time to cover here. But when specifically you talk about it in a culture killing perspective, the first thing I think about, just because I'm a big team sports guy, my favorite one's hockey. Hockey's the first thing that comes to mind here, right? Selfish hockey is something we talk about in the locker room, where it's like, hey man, there's 5 guys on the ice passing the puck around, 6 with the goalie, right? You can't play selfish hockey. You got to think about the team. But it's really easy because it's the statistically individual sport, right? One guy scores the goal, right? Not the whole team gets the points, right? But one guy scores the goal. So it's really easy to say, oh, I'm gonna hold on to this, I'm gonna drive it to the net, and I'm gonna put it in myself, right? And it's really easy to get to that sense of individualistic, I can accomplish this on my own. And in a business sense, the same is true here. You can absolutely grab the puck, skate down the ice, and go score a goal. You can do that at this firm. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're achieving the best results, or that you're growing our business culture or helping the business grow generally. And where it becomes a killer is other people start to take notice of that, and it doesn't encourage that sense of teamwork.
Yeah, and what happens? How do other people feel about that player or that team member who is doing everything on their own, or trying to just force things out without sharing the collaboration or the love or the knowledge of what's going on and asking for help?
Or the credit for it getting done. The reality of the situation is, even though that individual may have gotten individual credit for scoring that goal, it doesn't mean that the rest of the team did nothing.
Right.
They're a non-zero percentage involved in every single play that goes on the ice. And the same is true when you're in a firm or when you're in a business of the size that we're at. Every single piece of the machine that we're a part of, that we're helping run, that's helping impact people in our community, every single piece is a part of the results that we get. And so although there is this sense of like, oh, I can just do this by myself, or I did that all by myself, or I handled this from start to finish and so wasn't helping, those are perspective shifts. There are perspective shifts that can be made there that will help us move away from that concept of selfishness. And
that mentality right there is not acknowledging all the different details, because in a business setting and in the business protocol and system, which is the word I was looking for originally, system. There are so many people that touch a different case and have their impact their hands in the case throughout the whole process. It's not just the attorney who usually will get a lot of the credit and the paralegal that will get a lot of the credit, but there was the intake team, there was the people that answered the phone originally, there's the people that dealt with potentially an upset client or something, and all these people along the way, and then the people behind the scenes that are doing the medical records research or finding and research and document specialists.
Or think about accounting. That has to actually get the impact that we can make for our clients in their hands.
And accounting probably doesn't get very much credit at all when
the unsung heroes.
We dealt with the money and we cut the check and there you go. And
that's the impact.
Thank you, attorney, for all this. I'm not saying anything bad about attorneys, because they do some amazing work.
Of course.
And so, but it's a team effect, a team atmosphere. And so,
but it's very easy to get caught up in that sense of selfishness because it's very normal. It's normal human behavior to say, I need to watch out for me.
Yeah.
That's normal.
You need to cut that selfishness out of a team for sure, because it doesn't build unity at all.
There is a sense of wanting to be the best version of yourself, which you should strive to do, but it has to be balanced by the concept of, hey, we're in a team activity.
Yeah. You're a team. You got to put other people first too at the same time. So good. And so, well, that was our 4 culture killers that we wanted to talk about today. Anything else?
I think if those are the 4 culture killers, and we've addressed a little bit of ways that we can, kind of right the ship. But I think that the big key and the thing that I would underline for all 4 of these is that an environment that encourages connective communication is what staves off all 4 of these points, right? And the first one, of course, is having a lack of communication being a culture killer. I think that
that's kind of like an overarching umbrella above culture killers.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that you can, as soon as you can create that environment, you can cascade solutions into the next 3, right? Micromanagement, selfishness, and a resistance to change can all be solved by engaging further in an environment that encourages connective communication, which is a phrase that of course, Dr. Hoven, I heard him say, but that's what we want to create in our business. And that's what we can all create in our businesses. And that starts with, first of all, understanding who's a part of the culture, right? Who's on your team and who's part of your business, and how do they add to the culture as an individual. And then from there, finding ways that you can put more of those different shaped puzzle pieces into the unique jigsaw that you're building that is your business. Yeah. And you have to be creative, and you have to be ingenuitive, and you have to look for opportunities. And if, as an executive team, you're not finding those opportunities, then that's the number one thing that you want to, if that's the first thing you should solve if you're trying to repair the culture in your business.
No, it's true. And I think a part of communication that a lot of people don't think about is just giving your team and the people that you work with the reason why. Hey, we're implementing a new protocol. We're doing these type of things. This is where the business is heading, and here's why. You just tell someone, hey, do this and go get it done. There's some people that their personality trait is to, okay, I got my job duty. I'm going to go do it. But for the majority of people, they want to know the why, and they want to be able to get bought into the system or the vision, mission. And when they know the why, then that's when they're like, oh yeah, this is so good. We're going to move forward, and we're accomplishing something as a team and together. And so
something I think that Ramos Law has done a great job of, and I've been with the business a little over 2 years now, but something that really stands out to me is a way that you guys engender this sense of connective communication, this environment, right? Is you even get the employees involved sooner than that. And you say, hey, we're thinking about doing this thing for everyone here. We're thinking about doing this event. We're thinking about doing this project. What do you guys think? Or what's a way that we can execute this for all of you that's going to help you feel more connected, and that's going to help you feel like you understand each other better, or understand the executive team better, or get to know Dr. Ramos better, right? And those are things that I think, that's what I think really sets our culture and business apart, is that not only is that there's that level of engagement, but the employees get engaged at a much earlier time frame here, which is awesome to see.
Yeah. When it comes to communication and conflict and rising, you said a quote that I love of how conflict is a result of missed expectations.
Right.
And it's such a good quote, because there's so many times that if you just express your expectations or express your wants or your needs or those type of things, then conflict could be like avoided completely for the most part. And so not everyone's personality is going to be that type of personality to be able to do that and those type of things. But it's important for people to work on getting out of their comfort zones a little bit and continue to grow and learn and become better communicators no matter where you are in the business. Because you can communicate up the chain of command, or you can communicate down the chain of command. But both ways of communication is some leader aspects in there.
Absolutely. Yeah, you need both.
Right. And so communication, key. Number one, work on communication. It was kind of funny. When we were getting married, I've been married for almost 8 years now. Mm-hmm. And at the wedding, people always ask the people that have been married, hey, do you have any advice for the new married couple, right?
Yep.
Everyone always says communication.
Uh-huh.
Oh, communication. And you're like, as the newlyweds or people, you're like, okay, communication. Yeah, I've heard this before. Okay.
Of course.
Until you're really into the weeds and into the journey of life and everything, and you start realizing, man, they were so true. And you don't understand the impact that communication can have on your relationships in general, especially in the business aspect, your relationship with your team, your relationship with the business, and actually just making sure that the business is functioning the way it should be.
And I think that maintaining a sense of accountability for that executive team in whatever business you're in, whoever's making the big time decisions, keep them accountable. Say, are my executives creating an environment for our employees that's allowing us to connect and communicate, right? It's giving us that opportunity to do that. Right. And I think if you can check that box, then you're probably not seeing a lot of the 4 things that we talked about today. But even if you are checking that box and you are seeing those 4 things, it's always an excellent idea to just re-examine, hey, what can I do to give the team opportunities to engender that environment of connective communication?
Yeah. And it's not saying that the whole team needs to know everything. There's business operations and stuff that needs to probably stay private or those type of things. But you can give people an overflow and a direction of, hey, well, this is where we're heading in the business, and help them continue to understand and know that they're valued and they're part of the business that we really appreciate.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, this has been awesome, Ian. I really appreciate you having me today. This is really cool to chat about. And, we miss Dr. Hoven, of course, and I hope he's out enjoying himself. But, I think this was a really cool opportunity to be on the show. And it's great to hear from your perspective as the director of business culture. And I'd be happy to come back sometime.
Yeah, I feel like we could talk forever on different topics. So if you guys want us to come back on here and kick Dr. Hoven off once in a while, then let us know. We'll jump back on and share some topics with us, and then things that you guys would like to listen to. But yeah,
absolutely. If you aren't already subscribed, check the link below. All the social media is going to be down there. There'll be links in the description for this video. Rate us 5 stars, and we hope to see you again on the Ramos Law Difference Makers podcast.
Thank you guys for watching or listening. Appreciate you.
We'll see you next time.